What up? Welcome to Homegrown Hustle, where local brilliance takes the center stage. I'm your host, Matt Eickman. Together, we're about to embark on an inspiring journey. Our community thrives on the wisdom of insightful leaders that are right here in our backyard. And we're bringing their expertise to your ears. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or simply seeking inspiration, this podcast is your guide. Join us every week in celebrating innovation, guidance, and the power to inspire greatness. Let's explore the stories that shape our local business landscape, and together, let's ignite the spark of excellence. What's up, hustlers? It's Matt Eickman with Abracadabra Pest Control. I'm here with Joe Holman. He's the Director of Sales and Marketing over at Insight Restoration. I got one question just to get it started, Joe. When is hurricane season?
Oh, that starts in around June. Or when Mother Nature decides she's ready to go. But yeah, usually June is the kickoff, the official kickoff, and goes through about November.
Oh, that's like winter almost.
Yeah.
It's like the coastal version of winter.
Yeah. And it's a bell curve.
Snow seems a little bit less intimidating. Yeah. So, Joe, I know we both played baseball here in the MIAC. I think that's one of the first things that we kind of connected on. So tell me a little bit about like your journey. We were talking earlier and I asked you kind of like how you got here, and you said something that really resonated with me. And you said your parents, right? Yeah. Everything goes back to them. And like I 100% align with that. So tell everybody else. I know your story, but let's tell the story for everybody else.
Yeah, so growing up, it was me and my brother and sister, and we grew up in Springfield, Minnesota, down in southwest Minnesota, a little small farm town, and my dad was one of the general practice doctors down there. Okay. And my mom did a lot of volunteering and stuff, so they were constantly doing stuff, and my dad worked really hard, being one of, at times is one of 3, one of 4, one of 5 doctors, so they had to take on calls being in the small town. Yep. And so it was weeks at a time where you'd be getting calls all through the night, and sometimes you wouldn't sleep, and we wouldn't see him very often and sometimes, but it was a super fun childhood because we lived on a hobby farm. We didn't farm anything, but we had a pasture and a barn that we would lend out to some of our friends that had horses and sheep and stuff. So we were able to hang out with these animals, but not have to clean up after them and stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. Make forts and that kind of thing. So it was a really fun childhood. But my parents were always, we were, I wouldn't say loaded by any means, but my dad being a doctor, he made good money, and we were very comfortable. But they always said, you need to make your own way. If you want something, we're not just going to go get it for you. You need to get it. Yeah, you got to. So they instilled in us very early on that work ethic of getting a job. So I started working, if you can call it a job, I was a lifeguard at the that's local crazy. Pool.
That was one of the first jobs I had too.
So fun. You sit there and get tan and it was pretty easy. Obviously,
I was inside. I didn't get that. I didn't get the bonus of getting tan, but being a lifeguard, okay.
And we were all friends. It's a small town. everybody, so we were all friends. It was great. But they instilled in all of us kids very early on work ethic, and like I told you, they were what I call them competitors. It wasn't like they wanted to kill the person across from them in any kind of sport or anything, but they just challenged themselves all the time. And they continue to do that. And we learned that as kids of that competitiveness and that inner competitor of constantly pushing ourselves to be better at whatever, try new things, do things like that.
So did you have that type of control when you were growing up where you didn't, like if you lost, it wasn't like I'm going to flip the board or anything like that? Because I am getting a lot better at that, and I'm always going to have to work on that. But I want to win more than like most people have ever wanted in their entire life. Yeah. So did they instill like the ability to navigate that in you? Do you have a story that you recall?
I don't have a specific story, but just, they were never the parents on the sidelines that were yelling at the coach or calling the coach after the game saying, hey, why didn't you play my kid more? Why this and that? They were always very supportive of us, of whatever we did. I've had that internal competition with myself. I love winning. I friggin' hate losing, but I'm not one that's gonna blow a gasket about it if it doesn't go my way. I look more at losing, or if things don't go my way, I look at it as a learning process and learning from that. So I've always taken that kind of mentality towards anything I've done, whether it was work or sports or school or whatever. And just kind of, if things don't go my way, I'm going to learn from it and figure out how to never do that again.
And then same thing when you have success, like, were you the good enough's never good enough type of thought process? Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I knew I liked you. So
always be a good sport about it.
Yeah.
Be a good winner, be a good loser.
Yeah. I mean, that's hard, man. That's hard to teach kids too, because like the whole prefrontal cortex and everything isn't there. But growing up with siblings, like I'm going through it right now with my own kids, like helping them identify like how to just socially interact. I attribute my ability to do that to my parents. I mean, I'm 2 out of 6, right? So second oldest of 6, and you don't have a lot of personal space when you have that many siblings. It does. I don't care how big the house is,
fighting
right?
For food?
Yeah, almost. Not quite fighting for food, but there's almost like a pecking order. Just kidding. We always had enough to eat. And that was something that my parents had a lot of intent around, because a lot like you, we didn't come from a lot. Like they sacrificed a lot to be able to put us in the place they did and go to private school. But I think all parents really sacrifice something to be able to like help continue everything on, right? And that, like, I don't know, I think kids are what it's all about. And I know you've got a couple kids. You coach in baseball now. Did you play other sports in high school?
I played football, basketball, and baseball in high school. I stopped playing basketball my junior year, I think it was. I didn't play.
And then you just focused on football and baseball?
Yep.
And then did you play football at Augsburg?
I did, yep. Football and baseball.
So I almost went to Augsburg. I was like really close. Ended up not.
Piper?
I would have been a Piper. I know we played against each other a lot. I don't think I have any losses in the win-loss category against you guys, but I'm pretty sure we pitched. All right, I'm pretty sure I pitched like 3 out of 4 years against you guys.
Okay.
That's neither here nor there. This is about you, right, Joe? So baseball, tell me a little bit about like the structure around that for you, and like how you see that kind of contributing to the success that you have now.
Baseball, as you know, it's a crazy sport. It's unlike any other sport in the fact that it's not each at bat or each inning. It's every single pitch is something different.
The focus is like,
and if you're not in the game and knowing what you're going to do 3 steps ahead of time,
you're not going into the game.
You're going to look like a fool out there. Yeah. And that's something I'm trying to. My son plays baseball he was on the 12U or 13U, whatever it was, AAA team this year, and there's times where he's out there and just kind of looking around. I'm like, dude, if you don't know where this ball's going, you're in trouble. You're going to look silly out there. So baseball is a crazy mental sport.
Yeah, because it's like you got to know what you need to do before the ball even gets thrown.
Yeah.
And like the scenario over here, scenario over there, it's like chess on grass. It's also the slowest game in the world.
It's so boring.
Until the ball's put in play, then it's the fastest. Yeah. Right. But the ball's not in play all the time. So I like the pitch clock, though. What do you think about that? Them kind of accelerating it a little bit. It's interesting.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. There's those guys that have their routines at the plate and everything, which, I can appreciate that. But
it's a big rep
speed
sport.
It up a little bit.
Yeah. Like baseball, I know it's like you throw the ball so many times, you take so many swings, and it's just like consistency put towards that end goal, which is hopefully we win a game and I mesh right.
Yep.
But it doesn't always work out that way. But the focus you were talking about, that's something that right now you have, like you use that day to day. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So just being able to have that focus, and it's almost like you're scheduling every pitch of baseball. You're scheduling, what you're going to do and what's the plan, and you're always thinking ahead. And I think that's really what has helped me unconsciously, kind of helped me in my career.
Controlling your time almost.
Controlling the time, being organized, being prepared. What am I going to do? How am I going to talk to this person? What kind of person is this? Are they going to, react better if I talk to them this way or that way. It's knowing
Like
your audience.
how are they going to hear the message that I say?
Yeah. There's people out there that they want detail. They want every detail. They would rather spend 30 minutes with you talking about what you're going to do before you do it.
And you have to have the patience to give that if you want the deal,
absolutely.
At least, right?
And then there's the more direct folks that are like, I don't care what you're going to do. Just get it done for me, please. And
we love both of them, right?
Absolutely.
Because everybody processes things differently. Speed, I think, in business is best. Like, it pulls time forward. If you could take a project that would have been 5 months and get it done in one, like, that's kind of magical, in my opinion. But a lot of people like don't kind of challenge themselves, right? A lot of people will set 5 months and they'll hit 5 months on the tee. Do you have any process where you like think about, okay, I have these people I need to talk to, and these deals are out there. How do I make that happen sooner? Is there like any tactics or things that you do, or are you just like a good dude?
Yeah, in sales, there's
balance.
There's balance, right? You need to do your job and build these relationships and ultimately bring in the revenue. That's the ultimate goal, is to bring in the revenue. But throughout my time I cut my teeth in sales when I was living in St. Louis, going door to door selling coupon books for the Cardinals and Blues and Domino's. And
you're getting after
Papa
it.
John's. It's a grind.
How old were you when you did that?
That would have been 2006.
You're hustling coupons, bro?
Yeah,
That's
I was like
wild.
26 years old. And so you're going door to door, and I learned real quick that people, I could gain their trust very quickly, and not in a sinister way. Like I wasn't twiddling my mustache or anything like that. It was just authenticity, being genuine to them, and just having a conversation with them. And I gained their trust, and I was setting a bunch of records with this company of how many coupons I was selling and things like that. And I just found I was like, well, people would ask me, well, what are you doing out there? And I'm like,
I don't really
I'm just talking to them.
It just happens.
Having a conversation and being persistent with them. And so that really set the tone for my career. And throughout the career at Service Master and Shredded and some of these other places, the culture was a lot different at each one of them. And so it was really finding what worked from each one of those places and mashing it all into one.
And using your brain to kind of synthesize all that and like do what you believe is best, pretty much.
And so the combination of that and with the leadership of Insight Restoration was really what everything has kind of come together. And it was so funny to see that happen, especially with everything that went on right after I started in 2020. To see all that kind of come to fruition and see it all come together, I was like, oh, there's a reason I'm here. There's a reason that this all happened the way it did leading up to this.
Yeah.
And it was just really fun to see it all play out the way it did and to really enjoy the success I'm having now.
What an awesome kickoff. We're just getting started here. So hold on to your seats, folks. So let's talk about Insight now. So I've met you. You're at like every commercial networking organization, but you're not just like there, a guy in the corner. Like you're leading the charge, right? You're at the front. You're on committees. You're like everybody's favorite person, it seems like. Now you're on the board for St. Paul Boma. I know that. So you're like doing a lot, and being able to kind of plan your time out, I'm sure helps with that. But how is it that do you find yourself in those situations? Are you looking, like, are you pursuing that? Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah. 100% pursuing it.
Okay.
In my, as we went back to the work ethic and my growing up, to me, is if you're going to do it, then
All
do it
in,
at the best of your ability. You're all
like
in.
Testing the waters and jumping in with 2 feet.
I don't do too good at just testing. I want to just go at it. And if I sink, I sink. But most of the time I found I've been able to swim.
You're a swimmer? Yeah, that's
the
awesome.
best I can. So to me is if we're going to be part of an association, we're going to go all in. We're going to be on committees. You know, if they ask me to be on a board, I'm happy to be on a board and give my time to this association, because in the end, if you're not, you know, I don't know how you can expect to build these relationships with the people and get out of it what you need to get out of it. So,
because it really is really like relationships in business, it really is an equation. You have inputs, stuff happens, and then there's outputs, right? So the stuff doesn't happen if there's no inputs, because you have to have enough. So that activity, does it all kind of start with those different organizations and those like spheres of influence? Because you guys don't seem like buy a big contact list type of organization, right? You're straight to the relationships.
Yeah, that's to me, that's the key is that, especially in our industry, is because, you know, if they get a call at 3 a.m. on Christmas Eve, are you going to call the person that you have a good relationship with, that you know that you have a background with, or are you going to Google somebody to come help you? Right. So to me, those relationships are huge. And, you know, not to say that there's anything wrong with doing the other way. This is just what has worked for me and what I've kind of decided is the route we're going to go. And it's been successful. It's been kind of proven that it's working. And
you guys are killing it.
It's
you have some very innovative, like unique processes and tools that you use. But one of the things that I've found like the most exciting was that like the CEO has a very structured plan for the growth and the activity year over year. And in business, you don't see that oftentimes, right? At least with smaller business. I know there's a lot of small business owners locally that are watching this as well, but can you talk a little bit about how, I can't recall her name,
Karen,
how Karen kind of thinks about that?
Yeah.
Or at least communicates it with the team.
Yeah. So Karen is absolutely fantastic person to work with and work for. She's done a tremendous job at building the culture in our business. And she's very vocal about the fact that we are going to take care of our customers. And so our strategic plan is that we want to obviously continue to grow our business, but we don't want to get too big for our britches to the point where now we can't take care of all these customers, right? And so we've had a strategic plan that we're going to go out there, we're going to build these relationships, but then we're actually going to take care of them. And we have a very strong opinion in our office that once we gain that customer, you're not getting them away from us.
You guys are just too good.
Yeah. It's the service that our techs and our project managers and our operations team provide is top notch and always will be top notch. And then the customer service on the other side of making them feel comfortable, making them understand the
Peace
communication.
Of mind, right? Communication is so important.
Yep.
And I'm sure you guys do this. I don't even have to ask, but like being very forthcoming with the customer, because they don't deal with chaos all the time, right? So when they got a problem, sometimes the problem is really just how they're like handling it almost, right?
Yeah.
And in disaster, like you're literally walking, like you guys are down in Florida because there's a hurricane. So that's a pretty rough spot to just like jump on into and start working. Like how does that process even work? Like do you see it coming and you're like, all right, boys, let's start packing up. We're going to hit the road pretty soon.
Yeah. There's a lot of different strategies to it in our industry for sure, because you have the big national companies that have a footprint, you know, every 200 miles across the U.S. and they can all team up and work together. And so that's one strategy that our industry has. From our standpoint, we are a part of a group called the Coalition of Disaster Responders. And so it's a group of vetted restoration companies that most of them are around the Gulf Coast and East Coast. And we can all work together and provide each other with resources. So when these hurricanes hit, and especially in a situation like this where Helene just went through the Tallahassee area and the Big Bend area, and now Milton is coming to hit the Tampa area at what looks to be a Category 5. Those resources deplete very quickly with the lumber that's needed for board ups or tarping or that kind of thing, or just equipment in general, it gets depleted very quickly. So having a partnership with a company like ours up in Minnesota, where it's, things aren't really happening right now, we have plenty of equipment and,
I think the hurricane's
resources.
going to miss us.
I don't think we're going to get touched by this one, but we have that we can provide to them. So, they'll get a call where they get a school district or 2 school districts with 30 buildings each. And so then it's like, okay, we need you guys to take these 5 and you guys take these 5. And we all kind of divvy it up and work together to get the job done under, it's a win-win-win situation because the customers get taken care of. The company down there, the restoration company, gets to take care of their customers so they look awesome. And then we obviously get some business out of it too and give them a little kick as a thank you.
What a logistical nightmare in my mind.
It's crazy. Especially this one because we got guys that were in the Tampa area after and now that one's coming. So now we need to move north. Well, guess where everybody else is going? So trying to find housing. Nicole does an outstanding job from our standpoint of trying to find these guys housing and where they're going to stay. And
so they're not just like sleeping in the truck.
Yeah. But it's not fun. It's not fun. I stayed for a hurricane once when I was living in Southern Florida.
What's it like?
I mean, this one was, I think it was a Cat 2 or Cat 3. I don't recall, but we were far enough inland. We didn't have to worry about the storm surge or anything in life-threatening situations. But it was cool coming from Minnesota to actually be in a hurricane. It was kind of cool. They actually have hurricane parties where they hunker down, get a couple of kegs of beer, and
so this is the time I've heard it.
It's more of a younger generation thing, I think.
That's crazy.
But anyways, the aftermath was far worse without having electricity, running water, food. Your fridge is out, so you don't have the food. And
why do people even live in places like that, bro? That seems,
I don't know.
Like, I'll sign up for snow all day over that.
Snow
man.
any day. Yeah.
So, but the skill set that your team has is comprehensive, right? So really you're going into these places where structures are decimated, right? Yeah. And everybody needs it. So supply and demand is kind of out of whack. How does somebody get in contact with you during all that, right? They can't even plug their phone in to charge it. Like do they just text you like, hey Joe, got some schools down here. Like, what do they do?
I think that it's a lot of planning ahead of time.
Contingency plans.
They do have coalition meetings every now and then where they all get together, and Brett does a great job. Brett Denzel is our COO. He does a great job of reaching out to these companies ahead of time and saying, hey, we'll be down there if you need us. We have, our Titan 5,000 desiccants ready to go to bring down to you if you need them.
Sucks all the water out of everything.
Yeah. They're just big dehumidifiers on steroids for commercial situations. And so he does a great job of communicating that. And we build these relationships ahead of time. And that way that when the disaster does hit or when the catastrophe hits, there's a plan in place. Everybody kind of knows
where to go,
how you can be used. Yeah, exactly. And it's a little dance as things go on, and it is chaos. You have to pivot, and there's a lot of unknowns that can occur and things of that nature. But overall,
it's
in
as
that
usual.
business, you kind of know how to handle it.
And I mean, the industry itself. I mean, we're talking massive, right? Yeah. Like crazy big.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies out there that do restoration and do it very well, and some of them are very large and can handle quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah, but just the process is like when it happens to everybody, right? Almost like a plague or something. And then those people who don't have relationships in place, like things fall apart for them. And those that do have relationships in place, they know what's happening next, right? And that is a really powerful thing. Just like understanding, okay, even if maybe I don't know, I know Joe. I trust that dude. He's going to make sure we're good. That is what makes business happen, is that trust part of it, right?
Yeah, that's really what my job is as a business development manager or salesperson is to go out there and build these relationships ahead of time with I'll talk about Minnesota, but with property managers, with facility managers, school campuses, things like that, so that when, our hurricane season up here is in the winter with frozen pipe season. So if something was to happen where they have a frozen pipe on, it's always at a time you don't want it to happen, and it's always on the top floor. When those things do occur, now you have a plan in place of, you got a phone number to call. You've got a backup plan, because unfortunately those people, when these things happen, all the fingers are pointing at them of what are we going to do?
Yeah.
It's tenants, it's ownership, it's insurance, all those things they have to juggle. So our job, once we get on site, is to really alleviate a lot of that stress. And
because I'm sure they have other crap they got to do too. Like if they're from down there, their house is probably messed up or something. So certain things you can't help with, but the thing that prompts it, like being able to alleviate that stress. Man, we do the same thing with pest control, and it's hard to like navigate phobia, right? Because it's the psychology of things, but that's what we do a lot of times. Like oftentimes ants, like they're a nuisance, but some people it's like absolute paranoia, and just having somebody to help with that. It's cool to be able to take somebody from here and bring them right here, and then also walk away solving a problem. Is that one of the things that you like about building those relationships, is like bringing that kind of cool, calm, and collected in there? That's
100%. Yeah, because they're having a terrible day. It's not fun. Having water damage, fire damage, whatever it may be. Mold,
and they might treat you like crap too because of it. Do you ever experience that? Or is the relationship so strong that it like that doesn't occur?
For the most part, I've never been treated like that before. There are some people that don't handle the stress as well, and they kind of freak out a little bit. And again, that's on me, my job to come in and through communication or just being there, giving them that peace of mind and talking through with them. Look, this is what you can expect. I know that you don't go through this every day. We see this stuff every day. This is what we do. This is the process that you can expect. And, like we talked about, there's people that they would gladly take an hour to sit down with you and discuss what exactly are you going to do for me? How's this process work? And then there's other people who have the personality of, I don't really care what the process is. I just want you to do it and get it done.
Hurry it up.
And in
the oh shit industries, like in flood, water, pest control, like insert those other industries, that happens a lot where it's speed, and that trust really facilitates the task being accomplished. Because sometimes there's nuance within different jobs and whatever, but at the end of the day, problem is this. So like somebody has a solution. How do I find that somebody to make sure that my problem's gone in as short a time as possible? And that's why, for us, it's our whole customer experience is kind of built around that, because we know for that customer to be best served, ideally we're there when we hang up the phone. But it doesn't, like we have a 24-hour period that we set. But I'm sure for you guys, you're talking like depending how close it is, hours maybe. That response time, like that's what really fascinates me about restoration is y'all got people around the clock just working it, like waiting for this to happen. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys like handle that internally and getting guys to want to sign up for a role like that?
Yeah, it's a lot of organization. In our warehouse, Ross is our warehouse manager, and he does just a tremendous job of making sure that we have all of our kits put together so that they're on the truck. And it's not, our team has to, if we get a call at 3 a.m., it's not coming in and grabbing everything you need and filling up the truck and doing all, it's all done already.
Like you knew it was going to happen. You just you had to grab the right toolkit.
Or just grab the keys and go. And that's more of what we try to have prepared, is just to be able to grab the keys and go, so that our on-call guys are set up for success. And we get out there, like you said, within 90 minutes.
That's amazing.
In Twin Cities. So it's very much organization is key in our
So industry. How's the internal communication work around that then? Because when it's like flip a switch, everything happens really fast. Communication either needs to have already happened, or there has to be like a structured way to do it. Do you guys have like training processes around that? And then at that point, you're like, okay, I'm trusting you guys to do this because these people love me and they need to keep loving me after we solve this problem for them.
Yeah.
Like that's a big thing, that trust, right? So how do you do that? Or is it just like assumed?
A little both.
Yeah.
I have. So to answer your first question, we do a lot of training, a lot of training. It's our director of operations. And so him and Brett are very good at training our team into these situations and how to handle them. And we have an operations meeting every Wednesday morning that we go through. We actually talk about DISC personalities, the different personalities and that you're going to see out there, whether you're working with them or whether it's customer
people.
Yeah. And so we go through that stuff. We talk about what we've noticed that our team is doing very well at to let them know about, but also things that, maybe just very minute things that we need to just get better at to make us that much better of a company, or to respond that much quicker. Cause it's very much in our industry. Efficiency is crucial, because some of these, industrial customers that we have, if they're down for an hour, could be millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So being able to respond and get to them and have a plan in place is key. And that's really what we're trying to do every day is prepare our team and prepare our guys for, this is how we need to respond. This is what we do in these situations, so that they're prepared for it. And when the time happens, it's not just, oh gosh, what do I do now? It's, okay, we've been training for this.
So now it's a response rather than a reaction.
Exactly.
Like, so proactive. Response is always better because now there's foresight and thought that's been placed into it.
Exactly. And so my trust in my team is...
They've proven it to you probably at this point.
Time and time again. I don't have to worry about it. And even if they do make a mistake, we're all human. Yeah. But I've always said the difference between a good customer or a good company and a bad company is the way that you handle that mistake. And if it's handled terribly...
So how do you guys handle mistakes then?
It's terrible.
I'm sure they're rare, but when it happens, like, how do you handle it?
It happens. It does all the time. Like I said, we're human too. We make these mistakes. And so when they do happen, it's having that communication right away. Because if you stain carpet and now you have to tear it out versus drying it and saving it, if they find out about it, that's a much different situation than us going to them saying, hey, listen, we made a mistake. We're going to take care of it this way. This is what we're going to do. And so it all comes back to communication. And we have these processes in place with communication
and they're built.
Really make sure that if and when we make that mistake, that it gets taken care of right away. And Absolutely. They hear from us versus finding out from a tenant or finding out from
did you
whatever.
Hear the blah, blah, blah? Like, that's never good.
No.
Because you want to be the one delivering the info. You don't want it to come through some side channels or something like that.
Yep.
So for you, are you at the point now where you're primarily focused on those relationships you have and ensuring that they remain strong? Or is there a % of your time you still spend cold calling, prospecting? Like, how do you think about new customers and taking care of them versus those ones that have helped you get to where you're at?
Yeah, it's shifted quite a bit from when I started in 2019. It was 100% cold calling and new sales, right?
Crushing.
And every Tuesday we have a sales meeting and we go over, and I've split my meetings up from account management meetings versus new business meetings. And that is very much kind of leveled off where it's about 50-50 now, maybe a little bit more on the account management side as to I'm out seeing customers that we already have and meeting with them and just keeping them, right? Yeah. And staying in front of them so that nobody else snatches them up. So it's become a lot more after 5 years of that for me. It's a lot more even now than it used to be. I'm still going out there and building new relationships and trying to get into some of the places that we're not in yet that may have a relationship already or maybe looking for something new. So it's leveled off quite a bit since I started because 5 years ago.
You've got the foundation built, right? And now you have like proof more or less that, hey, this works. Yeah. Hey, we're going to do what we say. And now the bandwagon can kind of come into play, right? Where
Yeah.
people see the success you've had, they hear those conversations on those side channels, and then now you might not even know them, but they know you, and if something happens, they probably plan on reaching out to you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a small community out there. You think of downtown Minneapolis or downtown St. Paul, and it's very large and a lot of buildings down there, but it is a small community that they talk to each other.
Man, I was just in St. Paul yesterday. We were shooting some content for St. Paul Boma, and Heidi Kemp Schwartz, she knows everybody, dude. And it's just a real, like, it's connected because of the Skyway. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. Like, it's all kind of one thing. So there's overlap in the management of those different buildings, right? There's going to be some sweet content coming, by the way. So do you just go down there and walk around? Yeah.
Pretty much. And
just say, hey, I'm here to see Heidi. And how many people don't do that? Because like I spend a lot of time doing that type of stuff too. And like you probably don't even think about what other people are doing. You're just doing your thing because you know it works, and you've built that confidence over time too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about St. Paul, because I know there's a lot of stuff going on there. I was down there yesterday, man. There's so much excitement really in my mind. Like there's cranes everywhere, and it's like Mickey's Diner's open. COVID is not there anymore, whatever that was that dropped in on us for a while. Now everything's kind of coming back to life, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's fun to see.
Those relationships during that tough time, because I know that tenancy and everything over there wasn't always the best, but do you still have a lot of those relationships coming out on the end, at least the people that stayed in business? Yeah. Tried and true.
We were deemed a necessary business or whatever they called it back then.
It's a bonus.
Yeah. So I
don't
still
remember
able
the
to.
word. There's a word for it.
Yeah. So I was able essential. Thank you. And so I was able to still communicate with some of the folks there via, the virtual reality that it became. But I do feel like all that work that was put in during those months and years that, you weren't able to go out and have a face-to-face conversation, those relationships that were built during that time, once you were, and everybody did come back and you were able to see them and start having meetings again face-to-face, it wasn't a cold call anymore. It wasn't going in and meeting you for the first time. It was, hey, it's great to see you in
good
person.
To see you again. Yeah.
And meet you in person kind of a thing. And so, yeah, I do find that to be a very powerful way of doing business is getting out and face to face, because that way they see you. They know you're a human. They know you're from here. Yeah. We on the phone, we all have different
tones,
ways that we talk and accents and things like that. And are you from Minnesota? Are you really here? Are you calling me from Texas? Are you? Yeah. Nobody knows. So having that personal touch of it and being there and shaking hands and saying hi and letting them know that you do care about them enough to come down here, walk around and say hi to people. I think that's huge.
So I want to talk about that a little more, the care portion, because when shit hits the fan, being able to care about, like, that person knows that you care, and they also probably care about you a little bit. How do you go about developing that understanding that care is going to be put into it? Would you recommend people just like take time and keep investing, or like how do you get somebody to know that?
I think it's just being cognizant of their day to day and cognizant of what they're going through. As you're walking around, or as I go walking around downtown, it sounds like you do that as well. You have to understand that you're walking into their office unknowing and just interrupting their day. So do they want to sit and have a 20-minute conversation with you? Probably not. Yeah. So being cognizant of their time and coming in and just saying hello and, hey, I just wanted to stop by to say hi, see how you're doing. Maybe have something that I drop off, like cookies or whatever, and say, hey, I hope you have a great day. I'll talk to you soon, kind of thing. And then you follow up later to talk to them when the time is more appropriate for them. I don't think enough salespeople have that mindset. They have the mindset of, you need to talk to me. I've got what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to just come busting in your office and let's meet right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's never going to go well.
No.
Ever.
Especially not in Minnesota.
Especially not
Maybe
in Minnesota.
in New York or something, but not. It takes time. Things take time.
It does. And so you have to be persistent and not just look at the sale, so to speak. You have to look at it as a process and as a long-term play of, I'm going to come out here and see you. You're going to get used to me. We're going to build that trust. I'm going to earn your trust just by coming down here and saying hello. And then at that point, when you're ready, we can move forward with actually talking business. And one of the things that I do when I'm out talking to anybody, I don't talk business at all, ever. It's more, I want to learn more about you. I want to learn about your role. Tell me more about you. And it never fails that at some point they will ask you. Now they trust you. Now they understand, or now that they want to learn more about you. Up to that point, why would they care? You know?
Yeah.
So that's my strategy. Like I said, it's something that's worked for me. It's not for everybody. And, you know, something might work for others.
It sounds like something my pops used to tell me. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Great.
And like, I don't know if he read that somewhere. He's probably smart enough to come up with it, but there's a lot in between there, and being able to just understand humans to show, like, proof is, I don't think that's the right word, but demonstrating the care, I think, is really what it comes down to. Yeah. So Insight Restoration, right now, everybody's down in Florida. I hope everybody's safe and everything there. So do you still like hold a crew back up here just to make sure that you can still care for those customers? Yeah.
If we can't take care of our own backyard, we're not going to go somewhere. So this is a situation where, you know, things aren't as busy up here right now. So we're able to send a few crews down to help out, but we do keep enough up here that if something was to happen, you know,
you got
catastrophic, we've got it covered. It's not going to be an issue because we want to make sure, like I said, our goal is the customer service here and to take care of them. So we always keep our A team back.
That's awesome. A team back.
Yep.
So currently you're on this podcast, obviously, but how do you spend the rest of your time?
A lot of it is probably in the office, maybe once a week.
Where's that at?
That's in Plymouth.
Okay.
So I like doing that because it gives me an opportunity to kind of keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on. Because if I'm out too long, I come back and who are you?
Yeah.
Where did this guy go? And, you know, that kind of thing. So I like to know what's going on. I like to know what we're working on. And same thing with our customers. You got to have that trust with your crew as well. And so I really try to build that trust with my team, my operations team, so that they want to, if they see a job that's coming in, it's one of Joe's jobs. Oh, sweet.
This one's cherry.
Yeah. we're going to work hard at this one because he's going to bring us lunch. I try to do that if I can. My job is bring some lunch out to the guys just to say thank you. Cause I know that if they do a crappy job, it's going to come back on and look bad on me. Right. So if I take care of them, build that trust with them, and they want to work for me, I'm going to work just as hard for them. I'll help them if I need to, whatever it may be. But I want to keep that. And that was a huge goal of mine when I started at Insight, because at other places, it seemed like there was a big gap between operations and sales, and it didn't quite get along. And it was always sales wants ops, get on it right away. And ops is like, calm down, go golfing and do what you do, sales. Go to a happy hour, you know. And so there's a big divide between them in a lot of places I was at. And when I started, I said, that's the first thing that's going to not happen.
We're going to fix this.
We're going to make sure that that is not going to be the case here. And I love those guys. I think they like me, but we have a very good relationship in our office, and I appreciate everything that they do.
Yeah, that's super powerful within a team, especially like growing companies. It's hard to like miss somebody leaving or something like that when everyone's only together once a week or once a month. So those checkpoints in between, it really helps everybody stay like in like one unit almost. Yeah. And it's something I really had to work on as we've grown, because we've been around for like 7 years. How long has Insight been around? I know you're at your 5-year.
Oh gosh, I think it's Insight itself is 12 years, but Karen and Brett and Rob all kind of had their own businesses, and they came together as one 12 years ago, but they've been doing it for 20, 30 years.
So what makes Insight different than the rest of the operators in your space? I guess operators probably isn't the right word.
Yeah, some of the uniquenesses of Insight is that we do have an engineering team, an engineering department where we create and develop our own patented drying technology. And that's
patented.
Yeah. Yep. So our Titan 5000 desiccant is a patented piece of technology that
so nobody can do it. Like nobody can use it except for you guys.
Right. And desiccant technology is not new. We didn't come up with that or anything like that. It's just the way that Rob and Isaiah and Aiden design and build this piece of machinery is much different than what's out there. And it's much more efficient. It uses about a quarter of the fuel that any normal desiccant uses. So it's extremely fuel efficient, which saves, if we need to use it on a job for a week, it's thousands of dollars that is being saved. So insurance companies love that. And so that's just right off the top.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like a trump card almost.
Yeah. So that's something that's very unique to us. They also developed another piece of equipment that we use for documents. It's a document freeze dryer. Again, document freeze drying is not anything that's brand new that we developed.
I've never heard of this concept before.
It's always been out there, but what they were able to do is to make it portable so that we're able to bring it on site to a law firm or to a healthcare system that may have some personal health information or confidential documents that they don't want out.
Yeah.
We can bring it to them and dry it right on site versus having to box everything up, ship it out, and do it that way. So those are some things that kind of bring us up in the game a little bit more.
Complete differentiator.
Yeah.
Right. Because these other organizations operate in a certain way, and you guys have moved upstream, I guess, and completely put yourself in a different class.
Very innovative.
Man, innovation is one of my favorite words. You know that? How does your team continue to pursue that, like the innovation portion around it?
Yeah, they're always trying to tweak. One of the things that they're good at is taking something that works and just making it better. So we're working on some other stuff as well that I don't think I can say anything about at this point, but some new stuff that we're looking at working on that they're on trial with. So it's very exciting. We actually did get to send, I believe, 4 of our desiccants overseas to Japan. So we're international now.
Oh, check
which is
out.
Awesome. Check that box.
That's awesome.
Which is fun. It was over to an Air Force base, but they're just constantly thinking of new ways to do that. So that's one of our big differentiators. The way that we communicate with our customers is also seems to be something that they're not used to. That has been called a breath of fresh air for that.
Even if you didn't have these things that make everybody else not be able to compete with you, they still are getting an experience that puts you in that position.
Right.
What super powerful position to be in.
It's a lot of fun.
It makes your job kind of easy almost, right? Like,
well,
and ease going into chaos, like that brings some level of calm that I can only imagine what that really does for your customers. And I'm sure like if my house gets messed up, you could come help us out. But like you guys pretty much are focused, like we're commercial. This is what we do. Multifamily, industrial, office, skyscraper. Like you guys do all this stuff. Do you have like a favorite story from like your years of, I don't know, whatever fire, water damage and shredding documents? Do you have one experience where you're like, this thing stands out above all the other ones?
I would say from a gross standpoint, the worst one I've ever been on was a house. This was when I was a service master. One of the first jobs I went out on with the crew. It was an animal hoarder, and she was evicted. And I can't remember if it's a rental situation or what it was, but we had to go in there and clean this up, and it was thick with feces. She had birds, bats, ferrets. I think she had a skunk in there, countless dogs and cats. It was not good.
It's like Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
It was, but on a neglect standpoint, like a lot of these animals had to go to shelters and
it's tough,
get taken care of and things of that nature. But the smell and just how could you live in this? I just don't understand. That doesn't process in my brain of how someone can live in that.
It becomes the norm.
And it becomes the norm. And obviously there's rats and mice and all that kind of stuff too. So that was probably the most disgusting one I've ever been
Where you
on.
just like, you know, like want to touch anything like water, mold, fire, ready for that stuff. So have you guys ever dealt with like, I don't know, we do a lot of pigeon work and stuff like that with their nests and droppings. You guys are involved in that as well? Not so much.
We can be.
You should just send it to us.
We can come out and clean up the remnants of it. You know, as far as the poop and that kind of the mess that they leave behind.
Part of the process.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
say that's a core capability
core competency
of ours, but yeah, we would call you for that.
Yeah, for sure.
But probably one of the coolest jobs, just as far as sheer wow, was a building in Maple Grove, and this happened it was Valentine's Day of, I think it was 2021, where a pipe burst in their garage. So it was like, I think 30 below.
Yeah.
Super cold. And a pipe burst in their underground parking garage. And it came by so fast. This water came out so fast from this pipe, because it was like a 5-inch pipe, that it overwhelmed the drainage system and filled up the entire parking garage, like to the
Just top. Wrecked all the vehicles and everything.
Yeah. There was a few vehicles in there. One of them was a brand new 2023 Porsche, which kind of sucked for that guy.
That's sadness.
But it was unbelievable about how much water could be in this building. It ended up being 1/3 of Maple Grove's water supply was in the basement or in this parking garage. But at that point, we actually had to call a building engineer because we couldn't just drain the water.
There's like pressure and all that.
The hydro, whatever it's called, pressure, the science part of it. We had to take that water down at a certain scale, because if not, it could have imploded the whole building. And in fact, on one of the floors, there was a crack that went through the entire floor of the building because of the pressure that this created. So we questioned a few times of whether we should even be in this building or not. Is this going to come on our heads? But there was the not only having all that water in there and trying to figure out how are we going to pump this out? Where's it going to go? But it being, 20, 30 below at that time, with the wind being almost 40 to 50 below,
brutal.
Where are we going to put it where it's not just going to turn into a skating rink? So we had to figure out, finally we found it was like, what do they call that? Kind of a holding area where they just dig down. I forget what they're called, but we were able to pump it into that. But our equipment was freezing up. We had to constantly be out there trying to get that to work. And it was a challenge, but I've never seen anything like that before.
It's kind of cool to be part of a little bit, right? Like working through that problem, because now it's like unique. So a third of a city's water supply. I feel like that doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
So
I don't know who had to pay for that, but that would be a rough.
Well, I'm sure the property manager paid for it. The insurance paid for, like a lot of people probably paid for it.
Does the city have water insurance? Like if a pipe like that bursts, I don't know.
I'm not sure. I feel like I should be asking you that question. I'm not totally sure myself.
Anybody out there that has the answer, just shoot
it over. So, like, what keeps driving you? Do you really just enjoy connecting with people and solving those problems?
Yeah, I think it's that internal competition that I've talked about, that I have of, okay, I've done this in 5 years. In the next 5 years, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to keep building off of that and just keep driving myself to continue to build those relationships, because that's in the end, like you said, that's what I really enjoy. And it's more of the continuous education part of things for me. That's why I love going to these association programs. That's why I love meeting new people, is because you learn about what they do. You learn about, what they run into on a day-to-day basis. To me, education or knowledge is power. So having that
knowledge is power if you use it.
Yeah. So being able to continue to learn that stuff is kind of what drives me, which is kind of ironic because I was not the best student in the world. School was not something that I was really interested in, I guess.
You just wanted to play sports.
I just wanted to play sports and hang out.
Sounds like my brother Phil.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's what my continuous drive is. And then I have this, I don't know what you call it, characteristic of, I want to make people proud. So my family, my kids, I want my kids to see what I'm doing, my wife, and have them see the accomplishments that I'm doing for them and make them proud of me.
That resonates super deep with me.
Yeah. And I think that showing them, my kids in particular, of
what it takes.
This is what it could take. If you can learn something from me that can help you in your life someday, awesome. You don't have to do it the exact same way Dad did it. I don't expect, because I played football and baseball, I don't expect my kids to play.
They got to find their
sports.
own path.
I want you to find your own path. But if you can use something that you see me doing to help you through that path, great.
And I think that's how kids learn a lot, is less by being told, but more by it being demonstrated to them. Like, they're not the best listeners, but they watch everything. Yeah. That's what I see my kids, at least. I've got 3, and they see it from before we even identify. They see it, like, Dad sleep until noon. They're like, what type of example or model are we setting for our kids? And that's something that, that drives me too. I feel like I'm talking to myself almost. Your hair's a little bit cooler than mine.
Not even close to as cool.
So, all right. So now you get to ask me any type of question that you want. Before, we're going to have to wrap up here in a little bit. I think we're coming to time, but I'll give you 5 minutes. You can either go spitfire, or I can just answer one question and monologue for 5 minutes, but you let me know. So
I know this was kind of a family business for you, right? When you were growing up, was this like, I know what I'm going to do I'm going to follow in these footsteps? Did you kind of struggle a little bit and then find what you wanted to do?
That's a really good question. So I was always kind of wired like entrepreneurially, but I don't know if you thought this going to college and playing ball, but I was going to play pro baseball. That's why I really went to college. I was good in the classroom, so I knew I would have success there. So my backup, I guess, was being a doctor. Okay. And that's the path I was on. I got to that point. I didn't want to go back to school. Like, I absolutely crushed my GRE. I could have got into wherever, but I just didn't see that. And I did get to see the company grow, because going back 20 years, whenever it started, my wife's father, so my father-in-law, he started it after working for a local company, and we're Yellow Pages at that point, right? So they're trying to be at the front, so not AAA or anything. They came up with something kind of witty, right? Yeah. So that's how they landed on Abracadabra, and we've got a new logo now. Their original one was like a spray can and a magic wand, because when Mike, my father-in-law, worked for this other organization, he had a lot of commercial routes, and he was like getting let into banks and all this crazy stuff just because, like, abracadabra, like, let me in, I've got this thing, and it would just happen. So I never intended, until I saw the ability to take my father-in-law was able to provide a really good family environment, because he could kind of bend time around when is best for his life, rather than work around, like, instead of having to work around his work from a time standpoint, he would work his life around work. And he had that type of flexibility. So the 9 to 5, as soon as I saw you could, like, if I needed to take my son to an appointment or leave early for a game, I could do that, because I just then wouldn't schedule these other things at the back end of the day. So that control, where I was the one doing it rather than somebody else, that's what I saw. Now, I didn't expect to stay doing pest control at all, but like, I've really fallen in love with being able to see people grow and give them support and believe in them, so that they make new opportunities for themselves. And that's why I keep doing it, is for the people. So that was a long-winded answer, but I think you still got a couple minutes left.
No, I forgot that it was your father-in-law, so you didn't grow up in
Yeah, I didn't come up with it. Like, pretty much at this point, the only thing that's not mine that, like, is the same from before is the name. Yeah. The business it went from being a one-person company to, we've got like 30, 40 people, something like that right now. And we're just pouring back into the community, helping people achieve their goals. And it's cool to see that. I'm used to it. I'm sure you're used to having success, but a lot of people aren't.
Yeah, that's great. And the thing that when I got here, I thought it was going to be some studio. I didn't know that you guys had an operation here in Forest Lake. So the main one is in Minnetonka.
So we've got 3 right now. Probably the main hub for operations, just like our technicians, is going to be in Minneapolis because it's centrally located, and that's where a lot of our technicians live. But the first one is right on the shores of Lake Minnetonka, west side of Lake Minnetonka and Mound. My wife and I got that first building in 2020. And honestly, that's really when it took off. I mean, it took off before that, but it really ramped up because there's that almost like going in and shaking people's hands. It's that level of permanence where people now they see it and they have something in real life to associate a business with instead of whatever pops up on Google.
Sure.
So, I mean, we're planning to continue to grow. I like Minnesota, probably like inside. I'm not planning on going outside anytime soon. But the thing that we do is like whatever our team's goals are, we try to help them do it, right? And each individual, because everyone has different goals. So we put a lot of time and effort and support into our team so that we have communication on the front end so that issues don't happen while we are going through the process when, I don't know, just things in business, as you're growing, things change and evolve. And if you don't communicate, now people have feelings around something that you maybe don't know. And that can cause some issues. I'm sure you've seen some of that too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm learning every day. That's what it's all about. I like to challenge myself in every area. And that's, I don't know any other way to live.
Yeah.
Right.
That's great. There's one thing that I'm very jealous about that you're good at is the marketing side of things with Wizard Water and this podcast and a lot of the technological stuff. I'm terrible at that stuff.
And you're probably better than anything.
Yeah, have you been seeing a lot of success with having these podcasts or going and putting a lot of stuff on LinkedIn and that kind of, I don't know if you have social media presence, what you do with that, but have you seen a lot of success with that?
What a good question, Joe. My intent with that is usually around giving back. But in turn, what I've found is that it like somewhere it helps us to, can I track it back directly to that? Not necessarily, but when I get to have somebody come in here and I can support their business and help them grow with the platforms we create, that's what I really like. And I just maybe think about things a little bit differently than some people, but like Wizard Water and most of the stuff we do, it's collaboration. It's not like I just came up with it. It's a lot of people's thoughts. And then like, I just am the guy that does stuff. Yeah. A lot of people have great ideas, they just don't execute. Sometimes I do too many things and then now we're juggling, but I appreciate the kind words.
I think that's where the envy comes in, is that you're able to execute it, where a lot of people it's just a thought, but you actually get it done. And
if you're going to do it, might as well do it. Right. Yeah. I just go like, I see that like the vision and where it can go, but the belief to be able to execute. I think that's where people maybe come short, is they don't actually believe they have it in to do it at the level that they think it has to be done. I'm okay with something not being perfect. And through that, I get feedback that now next time I can go and improve on, or I can scrap it and not do it because I learned it's the wrong thing. Yeah. Until you do something, you don't know. All right. I got 2 questions for you. How do people get in touch with you? And then I'll ask you the second one once you answer that.
Get in touch with me on our website on, as far as Insight goes. That's insightrestoration.com is our website. So you can find all the information there about us. If you want to get in touch with me personally, I'm on LinkedIn or my email is just joe@insightrestoration.com or my cell phone. But those are the best ways to get in touch with me. Text
or go to one of the rattle off the organizations you're part of real quick.
Geez,
you can meet him there. I'm sure he'll be there.
Yeah, there's the St. Paul Boom, IRM, IF, MSCA, MASMUS.
That one.
Anyway, that's the school facility managers.
I got you.
Fun crew. NAPA, which is the colleges and university physical plant folks. Yeah. You'll see me at all.
And you're consistent. You're not one of those guys that just, I'm going to use the company's funds to be part of this, and the activity is not going to be there.
Yeah.
You do all the stuff. You go that extra mile, which
it's just so
we need
fun
more
to see
people like
everybody.
that, because some people just want to come in, check this box, make sure they got it, and expect something to happen instead of actually having something behind it with some substance.
Yeah.
Last question we ask everybody. Obviously, this is a Homegrown Hustle podcast. I'm grateful that you came on here because I want to hear your answer to this question. So we ask this to everybody. What do you define hustle as in business?
Just a never-ending desire to keep going, get better, improve, get that 1% better every day. That's what drives me. That's in my mind. That's what hustle is just continuing to be a better father, better husband, a better sibling, anything, better coworker,
all the relationships,
everything. What can I do today to improve on that? And that to me is what hustle is.
Pretty sure that's the actual definition. I loved it. It was very well spoken. It was very well spoken. All right. Well, thanks again for coming on here. I know a lot of people watching this are going to see your beautiful face, and they're going to listen to it. So if you see it, tell Joe how great a job he did, and maybe ask a question or two. I mean, we always love answering questions on here. Thanks everybody for listening to the Homegrown Hustle podcast. I'm Matt Eickman. Thanks for watching. Give us a like, share, follow, anything. We would really appreciate that. It helps us continue to be able to give back and make sure you guys are getting the content that is really best for you. That's what drives me. And hopefully you got just one little nugget today that you can take away and go create some action with. Again, Matt Eickman, Homegrown Hustle. Have a great day, Joe.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks again for joining us on Homegrown Hustle. Our local business community thrives because of the brilliant leaders right here in our backyard. And it's been an absolute privilege to provide them with a platform to share their invaluable expertise. Stay tuned for more insight, wisdom, and inspiration from our local business champions. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Together, we'll continue to nurture and expand our homegrown success stories. Matt Eickman signing off until our next insightful episode.